set? Good evening and welcome to another exciting meeting of the Charlton Water and Sewer Commission. Today is April 22nd, 2019. It's about 6:35 PM. And Zach, if you don't mind, we'll just read our minutes and stuff, and then you can come up and give your report. Russ, if you would, please give us the meetings of the minutes and warrants and
Sure, Paul.
anything else you got.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of April 8th, 2019, as printed.
Second.
Any questions on them? Guess not. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I didn't interrupt you for a minute,
Sure,
but I didn't want to skip the Commissioners' Public Forum, but there's nobody in the room, so that's kind of why I didn't do it, in case somebody at home was saying, hey, you didn't do the Public Forum, you know? So, unless one of us has a need for that. Okay, I'm sorry, Russ. go ahead.
Nope, that's okay. Next, make a motion, we accept the warrants as printed, as follows. Viola, $7,150. Cosgrove and Blatt, $1,242. Jeff Helgerson Excavating, $375. Osterman, $986.04. Viola, $184. Viola, $460. Alarm Works, $275, for a total of $10,672.04. And we also have senior abatements in total of $704.77.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
I got one question, maybe Zach, you can answer it for us. Veolia for emergency services, do you know what that was? It wasn't that much, $460.
It was in February.
It's attached to the invoice that you said.
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
Send that.
Russ has it.
you may not have even been here then, I think. It does say February here, so.
I think it's this one right here.
It's attached to the invoice.
Here it is.
That's Austin.
Okay. It has 11 hours of operator.
Where, that's all, just after plant.
That's second page.
There's the breakdown. Thank you, Sue. 8 hours North Main Street. High-level alarm at North Main Pump
Okay, yeah,
Station.
I think I remember that. No, so.
And 3 hours North Sturbridge.
That's
Okay.
why he missed the first meeting.
Yep.
Anybody else?
That
have
was, yeah,
any,
that was North Sturbridge one you
Any
missed.
questions on the minutes?
Yep.
You all set too, Russ, with the minutes? I mean,
Yes.
Expenditures. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye. That's all you got?
that's it.
Okay, then Zach, why don't you come forward and give us a monthly operating report for Veolia for March, I assume?
Yep. Go over some of the key points. Safety, we had no injuries. Training, our topic was lockout tagout. It's a procedure that we use to isolate energy of hazardous sources before performing work. For compliance, in March we had 3 effluent zinc daily max exceedances. Those together also cause the exceedance of the monthly average for zinc. Our limit is 142 parts per billion, and on the report it lists out the results that we got and the days that we got them. As you can see, we didn't exceed by that much, but nevertheless there were exceedances. We ran additional testing. The requirement is once per month to test for metals. The reason we ran additional ones was to try and determine what the cause of the exceedances were. We ran some additional testing on the influent as well as the effluent, and we found that the higher effluent levels correlate to higher zinc coming into the plant. Some of the other testing was to see if it was dissolved zinc or total zinc. And not, greater than 90% of the zinc coming in, or going out of the effluent, was dissolved in the water, which we really don't have abilities to remove dissolved zinc. The plant wasn't designed to remove dissolved metals. If it was a solid, it would be something that we could settle out, but. So, with that said though, the results for April came back and we're in compliance again. So we think it was something that was being discharged to us.
Do you have any clue where that might come from?
I don't know, it doesn't really correlate with the results that we've seen from some of the industries in the town, but, you know, whether they were sampling at that point, you know, it's kind of a tricky thing to pinpoint something like that, because you really need to be testing like daily in order to see if you can correlate that exactly. So, but going forward, we're gonna be measuring that on the influent as well as the effluent, so that we can have data going forward.
Zach, if you happen to know, what processes would, or type of processes would give off zinc in generic form?
There's a number of things that it could be. In Sturbridge, we had some of that problem with zinc in the effluent. It seemed to have followed me here, but some of it could be from industries. Well, I assume the majority of it would be from industries, something that's getting discharged. It could be in, it could be present in the well water or the drinking water. I doubt it be drinking water related, because there's kind of inconsistencies of what's coming in. It seems like it's something that is sporadic, like somebody discharging it at certain times.
Is it used as a cleaning agent?
I'm not quite sure. I
Okay.
mean, I'm sure there's some products out there that do have it, but I know some of the industries in town that, you know, it may be something that is related to, you know, etching or a process given out by, you know, steel tanks or tanks that are used in a process.
Steel tanks.
I don't know. It could be something related to a metal, and when the pH is high or low, maybe some certain metals come off. But
Okay.
I really don't know. That's just, you know.
Thank you.
Were you able to cross-reference or check any of some of the industrial users do sample, right? Were you able to look into any of that and see if there was any
We
relationship?
did, but there's not really any, you know, there's no spike in what was being recorded from them, and that correlated with what was coming into the plant. So, but like I said, you really have to be sampling like very often, because if you sample for a large period and you have 1 or 2 days of that period that the concentration's really high, and then the next, you know,
Okay.
couple of days it's really low, the average seems pretty normal. So, but it comes into the plant as a slug and passes out through as a slug as well.
So it could be something that somebody just discharges on quite an irregular basis, and when they do it, it just
yeah,
comes into this, maybe they're cleaning something out, or,
yeah, and it's something that we're definitely gonna have to keep an eye on. The copper was a little bit high as well, but that was under the limit, and then the monthly average for that was also under the limit. So we test for it once a month, so we're gonna be keeping an eye on it.
okay? Thank you.
in the plant. The RBCs 1 and 2 are showing good progress. We have the flow throttled back, so they're not flowing at 100%, but they're showing greater than 95% ammonia removal. As the growth continues, we'll start to increase the speed through there, but the flow isn't being recycled at this point. It's actually flowing forward through the plant, so we're getting treatment. We had LaFleur Electric come in and change out the scum sludge pump VFDs that you guys approved in February. Those work now. You repaired a faulty RAS control board. We received a quote for $1,700 for replacement, but we were able to find a company that could repair it for around $170. So we did that, and they're up and running again. On the 15th, we had high EQ tank levels and high flows due to heavy rains and snow melts. And then staff replaced COMAG RAS control valve actuators. They had failed, and these are on the other train of COMAG that isn't in use because of the clarifier. We knew that the valve needed to be replaced, so we had the valve on hand, or the actuator on hand, and when we took out the old actuator, we opened it up, and it was the case and the electronics were filled with water. So it was kind of a poor choice in conduit that we've changed, so that shouldn't be an issue going forward. Pump stations, all the stations' alarm tests were completed, full generator tests were completed. We sampled the MTAs on the 6th and 17th. We installed the new flow meter at the 6 West pump station. On the 27th, the North Main Street pump station, during the full load generator exercise, the transfer switch failed to transfer back to all legs of the utility power. We were on the second attempt to transfer back. It transferred successfully, so that's going to be something that we have to keep an eye on just to make sure that everything's transferring properly. For grinder pump calls, on the 4th we had 6 Ash Road with a high level alarm. There was light grease inside the wet well that was built up around the floats, and that was causing the off float not to operate properly. On the 7th, 203 Sunset Drive, we had a high level alarm and a trip breaker. It was an old system. Maintenance and power failure lights were on in the panel, so LaFord Electric upgraded the system. On the 11th, 110 Glen Echo Shore Road, there was a high level and a trip breaker. This was an ongoing problem. We've been to this house on numerous occasions. Every time it's a trip breaker inside the residence on their home panel. So that breaker was tripping, and not the breaker on the panel itself for the pump. So we performed an amp draw on the pump, and everything was operating within range. So we had LaFort Electric come in to change out the breaker and run a larger gauge wire to the control panel, and we haven't had any issues since. On the 16th, we had 85 Lakeview Drive with a high level alarm. The resident had a significant amount of built up old toilet paper and baby wipes at the bottom and wrapped around the floats. The resident hadn't lived there very long and didn't have a baby, so we think it was from the previous owners, but Helgerson's was brought in to pump that out and clean it up. On the 20th, we had 29 Hollywood Drive with a high level, and those were stuck floats due to a grease buildup. Dig safes, we had 11 dig safes marked out for the month of March. And as we talked about in the last meeting, or last month's meeting, we found damage inside the COMAG clarifiers. I attached some images of those so you guys could see kind of the extent of what happened. The manufacturer provided us with a quote that's also attached. There's two options for fabrication of the replacement parts. We can do painted steel, which is what was originally installed, or we could go with stainless steel components. The manufacturer believed that the damage was caused by failed coatings on the metal, which led to corrosion and ultimately the equipment to fail. The manufacturer also told us that the equipment should be taken down and recoated every 5 to 7 years, which I'm sure wasn't relayed to anybody about that. I reached out to my contact at Evoqua, who own the COMAG technology. They recommended to the town that we go with stainless steel. The cost is $1,662 more, but you know, if you eliminate the need to take the components apart every 5 to 7 years, the payback would probably be pretty quick. In addition to the cost, we'd have to bring in a welder to weld one of the components to the bottom of the existing tank. So that would have to be a stainless steel to regular steel weld. I've also reached out to Veolia employees at another facility who've done work at the treatment plant before. And they are willing to do the work. I'm still waiting to have them come check out all the work and see what it's going to take to get it done. But they can do the install, with the exception of the weld. And that concludes the summary for March 19. Any questions?
Do you have any questions for Zach?
On the quote, you only got a quote from one company on this? Or are they pretty much the only ones that do this type of work?
They're the manufacturer of the product, so it's their patent, it's their equipment.
How much of the product that we're replacing?
So this is the torque tube.
Well, right, so what's left? Is it 50% of it, 25% of it, 95% of it?
So we have the steel tank, we have the catwalk structure, the beams, the rake mechanism that's at the bottom of the tank, the gearbox, motor, and all the electrical that's already existing. So this, and also the torque tube, it's like a torque tube adapter, I'm not sure exactly what they refer to it as, that was recently purchased. There was a motor, gearbox, and that adapter that were recently purchased that haven't seen any use at the moment.
Okay, so if we were to order the stainless steel one, what are we looking at here? $15,000?
Wouldn't believe so. Let me bring up
The painted tube is, call it 5,600
so
guidepost.
yeah, this is the pricing for the two options.
Okay,
So
1, 2, gotcha.
So, yeah, you'd either be paying the $7,000 roughly for the stainless steel and another $610 for the guidepost, but you wouldn't be paying that $5,500 or the $330.
So these are the guts of the inside of that tank,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Unfortunately.
This is what twisted.
Yeah, from what we've seen, it looks like this is what caused the damage up top.
Okay,
The binding down below, you know, the metals kind of getting intertangled with themselves, causing the overload up above.
now we have two of these or one
We
in,
have two of them.
two, one's working right now.
Yep,
It's getting the job done,
yes.
but we're in dangerous territory.
I'd imagine that one of the first things that we should do is, once we get this other train up and running, is to take that other one down and do some inspecting.
Okay,
Now, when John was here talking with us about this, he had discussed potential for a share pin or something like that.
Yeah.
So that if this were to ever happen again, it wouldn't,
Yeah.
is there
Unfortunately,
any look into that?
I have looked into that. The manufacturer hasn't gotten back to me, but they're looking into if there's some equipment that we can add that gives us some torque overload shutdown to prevent something like this from happening. That's an extremely common thing to have on these, even the small clarifiers, so why this wasn't installed to begin with. The only thing is you'd probably have to buy a new gearbox and possibly a motor.
if
Which-
what?
If they say that they have a solution that will give us some torque overload abilities,
Okay.
it may involve going with a different drive.
Yeah,
So that would be motor and gearbox, which just got replaced and has no,
yeah, no, we're not doing that. I
Yeah.
don't see us doing it.
Yeah.
It's no different than what needs to have added to the shaft. It's like a snow blower. You need to put a share pin on it. That's simple, I would think.
I don't think you can in this situation, that's the problem, right?
I wouldn't know. I mean, maybe that somebody could be brought in to engineer something.
What you're talking about is on the electrical side, it senses that it's
Well, it's a
overloading.
mechanical that transfers that overload to an electronic signal
Yeah.
that shuts it down. So,
It's
but
like a
like,
thermal overload, but I would think
there,
this situation here, because it's so hands-on as far as the grit or whatever it's moving, is if there's something there that's tying it up, you want to stop it immediately without burning out the motor.
yeah, because all that damage would have been prevented if there was something in
Yeah.
place. A lot of
Yeah,
systems
but-
do have sacrificial shear pins
Hmm.
that under normal operating, the pin's strong enough, but as soon as something brings it beyond what it's designed for, it
Yeah,
snaps.
that's, I put in simple terms.
Yeah.
Like a snow blower, you take in a big rock or a stick and so it's gonna shear the pin, but not break anything else. And that's what we're looking for, but you don't wanna be out there every 20 minutes, replacing the shear pin.
Yeah, I mean, that would be something that would probably have to be engineered, unfortunately. And I don't know
Okay,
the cost of that versus,
Or the time issue, because if the other one goes down and this one is down,
yeah, I mean, that
Now-
doesn't
now what
really
are you
leave
gonna
us in
do?
a good position right now. If something were to happen to that other tank, we lose our tertiary treatment.
and how lead time's 3 to 4 weeks on this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we kind of held off on placing the order because we wanted the commission to make the call on what materials we use.
Stainless steel doesn't require the tear down, cleaning, repainting every 5 to 7 years that the painted one does.
I wouldn't believe so, but the tanks themselves are still gonna be exposed to the conditions down there, and those are a painted, coated surface. With that said, I believe it'd probably be significantly easier to do that recoating. Because if you have the painted components, you really have to take that drive off the top, separate the guide post and the torque tube so that you can get at the two surfaces, which obviously is a lot of work, which wouldn't have to be done if that, if those components were stainless.
So what's your recommendation?
After speaking with John, we're kind of on the same wavelength with Evoqua, in that the components out of stainless would probably be the better choice.
I would like to see us move on this, just for the sake of the next time we meet. I think it's maybe 3 weeks from now.
It's May 6th.
How many?
May 6th.
6
May
weeks?
No, May
6th.
6th.
Oh, May 6th. All right, not the end of the world, but I would like to see a call put into the manufacturer and let them know where the commission stands as far as asking them if, in fact, some type of shear pin can be put in this assembly so that it doesn't crush itself if, in fact, it gets clogged up. Because right now, there's no mechanism whatsoever. Now, this is run for what, 15 years? 18 years? How long?
2010 to now, so you're looking at 9 years.
9 years.
And the other one's the same age?
Yes.
I'm not sure the hours on them, if they're even or not. I could try and find on the records, but
I think we should order it no matter what, but I think we need to get a clarification is to find out from them if in fact they can put some type of safety in there, either being a shear pin, or if in fact we could just attach electronically something to that motor, so as soon as there's an overload, that'll trip off.
Well, let me ask you this question. Is there the possibility of, it has to be welded on, right?
the guidepost, which it attaches to the bottom of the tank, which comes up, I think, maybe 12 inches from the bottom of the tank.
Oh, just the
That-
guidepost?
That has to be welded.
Okay, not the tube itself?
Correct.
Okay.
That's just a pin that comes up that the tube rotates on. It keeps everything
Aligned.
aligned straight.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If you do move forward with it, I mean, that equipment could be put into use, and then down the line, you know, that the need for some sort of overload protection might be possible at that point.
Well,
And you're going to, as soon as this one goes online, you're gonna
Yeah.
look at ripping down the other one?
Yeah, because we don't know how far behind that is, and taking it down and inspecting it and recoding it's obviously better than waiting for it to fail.
And if you open that up and you see that that one's turned at all, then you know there's a big problem there
Yeah,
in that design.
yeah, I'd say it's a design flaw, yeah.
Zach, what's the diameter of that tank? 24, 36 inches, 48 inches?
I'd probably say it's roughly 10 feet, or 12 feet maybe.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, okay,
The diameter, I mean.
yeah, okay.
In clarifier terms, it's
All right, so
fair.
there's gonna be no problem for a worker to get down there and cut whatever's left of that pin, if you wanna call it a pin,
Yeah.
and get it flat, grind it down, and then add whatever he needs to add. So
Yeah.
that's, okay, it's just a matter of time for a welder.
Yeah, I mean, there is some level of added difficulty because they're not similar metals. There's
Yeah.
stainless,
Yep,
but so we're gonna have to make sure that gets coated really well so that the weld stays in good condition.
yeah. I'd like to make a motion that we ordered the parts, the stainless steel parts, for this and not wait any longer, because this thing needs to be in the building in
Second.
case something else goes, in case something goes wrong the one that's now running.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is
Yeah.
the
I agree with
bloodline.
you.
Yeah, I will say, we also, when we had the electrician out, we tightened up the tolerances for the VFD, the drive that drives the motor. We brought the allowable amps closer to what it was rotating at, or what it was designed to rotate at, so that if it starts to sense, you know, some overload, it will go into overload sooner. But the problem is the gear ratio of that is still extremely high, and, you know, a motor doesn't have to work very hard to cause some serious damage. So if it was more of a direct ratio, it would be definitely something that would be easier, but
So that's why a shear pin would be more efficient.
definitely.
I guess you need to have a talk with the company, not the salesman, but one of their technicians, and ask them if in fact we can special order something with a shear pin in it.
Okay.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor, and a second to go with this stainless steel option. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
Rusty seconded.
I did.
Rested.
Yeah. But Zach's gonna seek that information out first.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, thank you.
Do you want me to order the components and then continue searching for the information, or do you want me to hold off until we hear back?
Have the conversation with the supplier first, see if there is an alternative with a shear pin.
Okay.
If best case scenario that were to present itself and you had to come back to us, then we could always do it on an emergency basis too, right?
Correct, correct.
I can bring forward everything that they tell us and all the options that we have.
But if
All
we
right.
don't find any options, then we
Yeah.
wanna move on this as
Right.
soon as we can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's definitely an option of, but, you know, like I said, that's probably replacing the drive mechanism, so I'll see if they have any
Yeah.
other options that,
That makes no sense.
yeah, I understand.
Yep. Okay. Excellent.
Would you guys like me to stick around for the next topic? I believe it's on Stevens Park Pump Station.
Sure.
Which topic's that, Zach?
The MVP action grant for Stevens Park Road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Steve, you gonna make a presentation on this? or is-
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Over the past year, the town has been working with Fuss and O'Neill to identify concerns of the town, allowing us to apply for the MVP Action Grant. Because Charlton is designated a town under the MVP grant, we're eligible to apply for grants to make repairs or upgrades to our infrastructure. These applications are town-wide and can be for any concern that has been identified to be affected by the climatic changes or changes due to weather patterns. I've worked with the engineers, that would be Peter. I've worked with the engineers from Fuss and O'Neill to evaluate our water and sewer infrastructure, and I've identified the Stevens Park Pump Station as a priority for repair. Because the town is designated the community, we are eligible to apply for that MVP grant, action grant, to make the necessary repairs to the pump station. The MVP grant does have a 25% match, as you'll see in the application attached. I would recommend that we would fund the 25% from the annual capital replacement line items. Attached, you'll find the initial portion of the grant application. At this time, this information is informational purposes only. No action needs to be taken. So the numbers that are there, which are on page 2, the total cost of the project is $125,250 with a matching contribution of $41,750. The grant applied for is $167,000. The facility is in the southern end of the Glen Echo Lake in the town of Charlton. The station collects wastewater from the homes at the Stevens Park Road before pumping back to Route 131 City Depot. The pump station is at the base of the large underdeveloped woodland just north of the town's solar field, which can be accessed via Route 31. The station is also at the low point of the road, adjacent to a small stream that discharges to the lake, thus indicating where the contamination would be if the pump station overflows or overloads itself. So I think what they're looking for is commissioner's support on the contribution and support in going forward. He has submitted the application and is keeping you aware as to the current status.
Is there a scope of work included in here?
Yep, page 3,
Thank you.
right?
Just for clarification too, MVP stands for Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness, so, I just turn my head, I mean, there's so many MVPs around here, but not in the sports field right now. But this is what it's all about. Is he looking for a, motion tonight on this 25% expenditure?
Yes.
Thought he was not.
Yeah, just for information.
Just
Front page.
information,
The
right?
next one you need, the next grant you need some information on.
We wouldn't even vote on this until after it was accepted, or approved rather, right? Until we're awarded the grant, like the next one.
Excuse me, but skipping through page 3, I think Rob was asking for a breakdown. There's a task breakdown with planning, preliminary, with dollar values, total cost. At the bottom of the page.
Correct, I guess, so I'm seeing close to $70,000 in soft costs in the beginning. Planning, designing, permitting, and final design. 20, 12, 7, and 15,000. A little over $70,000. So, I see construction, are they bringing in any equipment?
I can't answer that question, I don't know.
And what does it mean by stakeholder engagement? $5,800, again, at the bottom of page 3. Does that mean we've got to come up with $5,800 plus 25%? Any ideas, Zach, what this stuff is?
I just know the condition of the station. I'm not- Peter just kind of relayed the information to me last week.
And give us a quick description of the condition of that station.
It's, the condition that it's in is it's in pretty rough shape, but it's due to erosion. There's a lot of water runoff, and it goes right past the station, and in some cases over the station. The pad that the control panel and all the electronic components on has tilted due to the pad eroding. I imagine that's causing some serious stress of the conduit going up
Okay,
into it, so we're in danger of having broken conduit and maybe not having operation of that pump station. I'd imagine that the wet well and the pumps themselves wouldn't need to be really addressed, but there definitely needs to be some work done to prevent the water from, eroding away what's going on even further.
If there's stress on the electrical components, are you concerned about any stress on the actual pipe discharge and inflow?
I wouldn't think so, because that's, I guess I don't know. I wouldn't think so, because all that is below ground, and, you know, a lot of this damage is done to the components that are at ground level or above ground. I'd imagine it's a serious, source of inflow in the sewer system, because I've been out there numerous times over the, when there was snow and ice on the ground, and the snow and ice is actually over the hatch to the wet well. So, obviously water and ice are building up on the surface, so that must be flowing right into the wet well.
I think this needs a little more observation by us as far as actually doing the site visit, because it almost seems as if there needs to be some regrading
Well, I'm sure that,
of the area there. And I agree that probably that pedestal, or the pad for the pedestal, electrical pedestal, may need to get reworked or totally rebuilt.
well, I'm
But-
sure that,
Yeah, but, and again, if in fact,
Commissioners, excuse me, can I call your attention to the top of page 4 and then to Appendix B? Again, it's restated 25% of the total cost, and it's defined as $41,750. In Appendix B, there is a complete budgetary breakdown based on what the grant's contribution is and the match for the town. And it cites in the left-hand column.
what page is that, Appendix B?
Appendix B, yes, sir. Right behind Appendix B, that page breaks down the costs, both from the grant and the match contributions.
Do you see any equipment in there, Steve, or are we
I do
just
not see
talking?
equipment.
We're just talking about, or is there a definition for stakeholders' contribution?
I don't see stakeholders.
$5,700 or $5,800?
I don't see that there. I'm looking for the amount itself of 57.
It's,
I don't see it in
yeah, the exact amount is $5,834.
I don't see it in the match contribution, which would be our costs. I don't see it into the grant either.
Yeah. Most of it seems to be grading and a little bit of concrete work. Maybe you need an electrician for a day.
it's gotta be down in the bond, it's task 8.
What are you talking about?
You're looking for the stakeholders engagement?
Yeah. You see it, you've got a line dedicated for it?
Yes, so on task 8, stakeholder engagement. You're
Task-
looking at the
Task 8?
FYI 19 MVP action grant scope template, this page.
Which page am I on?
Yep. Task 8, last one.
Oh, yeah, 5,834, that's split between the grant and the match. The match shows 1458.50, which would be our contribution.
Okay, so this is more fluff. We're paying for a meeting, okay, and then we're paying for a final meeting. The grant will pay $5,800 of the meeting, and we will pay $1,400 of the meeting, $700 each. Is that correct?
No, that's the total. If we shift to the left, sir, under grant, it's showing the grant is gonna pay for 4,375.
You're right, exactly. I gave you the total amount. You're
Okay.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think we need to take a look at the project.
Oh, I agree, and I'm sure that this is just the initial breakdown by Peter, not with finalized costs.
Yeah, but I'm sure he got this printout from whoever's working this project. When I say working it
Probably,
for the engineering group.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're out rummaging up business. Yeah. Which is good.
That's why we own scissors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice, nice. Someone else is gonna pay for it, but, no. $42,000 for some backhoe bulldozer work and a few loads of snow.
Well, I think one of the issues you talked about, I'm sure that the top of the wet well will be raised in this,
I
right?
don't know the plan. I don't know whether that was
Sure.
the option, or if they were gonna build some sort of wall around it to keep to divert the flow around. I don't know if the scope of work is just to the station itself or the surrounding area as well. I'm not
I'm sure Peter will be able to answer most of those questions for us, but
Positively.
years ago, I think we had similar situation with the
Muggett Hill,
Luggett Hill,
yeah, we did.
so.
And look at it was a flooding situation.
Well, Muggett, there was a couple of things. There was a flooding situation. We also had, we were breaking the anchor points to the wall until we finally anchored them to the wall with the shaft. And we finally brought in, I think it was R.H. White's was the lowest bidder to do those repairs. And we had the engineering work was done by Fuller.
I think the second part of that too, the anchoring issue,
Yes,
yeah, that was after we put the new pumps in.
yes.
Because the new pumps, they're 25 horsepower,
Yep.
huge, huge.
Yep.
They're about 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
When they would start, it would, so it was pulling it right off the wall. So
Exactly.
they put some shock arresters on there or something to fix it.
Mhm.
But that pit, I mean, that pump station can now run underwater with no problem.
Correct, because it got submersibles. And we also raised that tank with a 5-foot section.
Yep. And that originally was a surface pump station that was put in a floodplain.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was an engineering mistake,
yep.
huge. We
Yeah,
rebuilt
and
that one.
it was down below the road, and it
Yeah,
used to
no,
flood on that
not only
side.
below the road, it was below the road and also above it was below the floodplain level.
Yeah,
So again, if we get some high waters like we do every other year, that thing got flooded.
Yeah.
Cost us well, never mind. Cost us a lot, multiple
All
years.
right. well, so you don't need any motion on that, so, I mean, that's just for our information. think Zach can,
Okay, you going good on this?
yeah,
We'll move on?
Move on.
Yeah, and there's a question here, and you get seemingly inflated prices, but then they're paying for 75% of them, but, okay, moving on, what do we got next, Steve? Drinking water supply protection grant?
thank you, Zach.
Yeah, thank
Good evening,
you, Zach.
Zach.
On the new business reimbursement to purchase property off Gale Road.
So we need a motion to accept this grant? Is that what we
To
need?
acknowledge the award and support the grant.
That's the proper language. Acknowledge the award and support the grant.
I'll make a motion, we acknowledge the award and support the grant as printed.
Of $61,900. Up to
$61,900.
Second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other discussion on this? If not, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Steve, back to you, old business, water line construction update, Barry Corner Road, School Loop, 169, et cetera.
Correct. Thank you, sir. Berry Corner Road, the service laterals have been installed. on H Foot Road by Ludlow Construction, is now installing the main water line along Eleanor Lane. They're also starting to pressure test sections of the main installed along H Foot. School Loop, Albany's Brothers continue to install the water main on Old Worcester Road. They have encountered a 4-foot box culvert at that highway and is working with McClure to get it replaced. Albany's is skipping that section and will continue installing the main water line while a solution is found. Albany's has completed the main water line on L. Stevens Road and should be moving the crew to start on H Foot. I can confirm they moved to H Foot, they started there today. And having been over the L. Stevens Road, it is surfaced, so that's about complete.
Wait a minute, where's, Albany's has moved to H Foot?
H. Putnam.
Oh, H
Sorry.
Putnam, okay, I was gonna say,
H Foot, HH.
They started up there today, wasn't it?
Yes, they did,
So, yeah.
they did.
yeah.
And they have finished the L. Stevens patch. It looks really good, so it's certainly far better than it was before we started. So,
Just, at East Putnam Road, water line is, that's gonna be a problem for us. I think, in my opinion, it's gonna be a problem for our system later on, because what it'll do, it's designed to short circuit the
water to the tank.
right, the flow of the water to our tank, our 600 and,
800,000 gallons.
okay, the 800, whatever you wanna call it, the 800,000 gallon tank. So what will happen is that the water that's in the pipe on Stafford Street, right about where the church is, the Methodist church and the former campground, then currently the flow of water goes all the way to Stafford Street, North Side Road, Route 20 into the tank. Now what it's gonna do is come up Stafford Street, get about halfway up, and it's gonna take a right-hand turn on H Putnam, then it's gonna go up Route 20 to the tank. Then all of these tens of thousands of gallons of water that's in the pipe, 12-inch pipe, I believe, that is in Stafford Street and also in North Side Road and Route 20, that flow is only relative to the people who use the water there. And it's thousands, and I would say it's close to 100,000 gallons of water that's just gonna sit there. And the engineers have said, no, this is the best way to fill the tank. Maybe the best way to fill the tank, I don't know if it's the best way to maintain water
To
quality.
use it after it's full, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that not gonna have a valve control there, so if we're having a
I-
problem,
you
we
know,
can close the valve down somewhat?
This is something that, again, I know, I've been talking about this for years. I know that the engineer, who knows way more than I ever will know, I definitely agree, it's the quickest way to get the tank full. But it's gonna be a problem as far as I predict, as far as water quality goes in the Stafford Street North Side Road line. Because you're not getting the flushing. And it seems like we have designed our system, for the most part, to where everything dead ends at one or two large users, whether it's gonna be at Masonic Home, or whether it's out west at one of the Turnpike users. And we do have a large user on that Stafford Street line, which is the Turnpike, but they only use 20,000 gallons a day, and there's over, I'd say, well over 100,000 gallons that's stored in that line from Stafford Street all the way up to Route 20 up to CVS.
Nope.
So,
So
anyways, I'm just mouthing off here.
Shall I continue?
Please do.
Thank you. Albany's is also in the process of pressure testing the water main on Masonic Home Road. Once the main passes the pressure test, they plan to have a third crew start the service connections on the Masonic Home Road. Route 169 pump station, the propane tank was set last week. It will take R.H. White's 4 to 5 weeks to finish the installation of the pump station. Bay Path and Overlook pump stations, nothing new to report. Buffinville Public Water Supply. Peter Boria was on site with Peter Newton on Friday, April 12th to help the pump test to monitor the levels in the new wells that we're installing, or that were installed. I'm going to be working with Peter and Beta to prepare the presentation for the meeting on May 6th. We will show the results of the completed pump tests, and will also include a conceptual plan of what will need to be done to develop the site. Trolley Crossing Road, the Chaharoni Properties is scheduled to begin installing their main water line on Trolley Crossing on Wednesday, April 24th. We will have a set of plans in the office to review.
Very good, is that complete? That's
complete.
Pretty much for tonight.
I do have one, just to backtrack.
Yep.
One little quick thing to the grant, and, the,
$61,900
Yes.
or up to?
just on some of the next steps, it says sign and return the forms by April 24th.
So the next, we have to, the minutes, we have to approve the minutes. And then, then a letter will be drafted with the signed minutes.
Okay,
So nothing needs to be signed tonight, we just have to make the motion.
okay, even though it says sign and return the following forms by April 24th?
In the grant,
Yes.
for right now, we just wanted it accepted, motion to. approve.
Okay. Okay. Just making sure we don't,
No, we want to rush everything.
yep. Okay.
So we need a motion.
Well,
We-
before,
we-
before closing, I'd like to say that Alex McKenzie, who unfortunately is not able to be with us tonight, and he's not running for reelection, so I'd like to thank him for the 6 years that he was on the board and the vast amount of knowledge he brought to the board with him. And I'm sure he'll be missed by many of us in many respects. And for those others, voting is a week from this coming Saturday, which is May 4th, and our next meeting is May 6th. And yes, Steve?
Did we make the motion to accept these?
Yes, Russ did.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay, thank you.
And if there's nothing else, I'll wait
I
for the
got some
final motion.
questions. I got a couple questions.
Sure.
You first, Russ, do you have any questions?
Nope.
On the
nope,
report.
I'm done hitting the tennis ball.
Steve, do we know when, or do we know what is the projected amount of construction time up at Trolley Crossing?
I do not.
You do not, okay. Next question is, on this, on L. Stevens Road, so that's totally complete now?
They have got their asphalt machine sitting at the bottom of the hill, but from what I saw, yes, it's complete.
Okay, well, the final coat's not gonna go on
No, no,
until,
no.
late.
They use that machine for laying the overlay or the patchwork, if you want, if I can call
right,
it.
okay, all right, perfect, perfect. And now on, Orwester Road, do you know where that 4-foot box culvert is?
We're on either side of it right now, and it's, I'm gonna say, a couple of 100 yards from where we stopped from the western end. So we've jumped over it and we're proceeding eastbound.
They pretty much got all the way down to where that crossing is, to where they gotta do the big, box culvert or whatever.
That's
they
the
gonna
one we're
put.
talking about.
Oh,
We crossed one set,
okay,
one brook. We did that the end of,
all right, it looks like it's more than 4 feet, but it probably is 4 feet, but all I know is it's huge.
yes,
Okay, and they're gonna have to close the road
they figure about 2
Complete.
weeks.
2 weeks to do that.
Yeah, that's why they jumped over it.
Okay, and all right, and while that's closed, Mugget Hill will be totally open in both directions.
I am thinking yes, because they're gonna start the connections next week. They're gonna do the pressure test, and then they're gonna put the, yeah,
The laterals?
not, the laterals, I don't think they've got that far
Okay,
along. They're gonna put
but the
the
curb stops?
curb stops, yes.
Okay, so they're gonna get the curb stops
They're
in.
gonna get the curb stops in
Okay,
and tested,
okay, and they got the correct ones now this time?
yes.
Okay. And getting back over to Berry Corner Road, How is the Eleanor Lane going? Isn't it Eleanor Lane?
Eleanor Lane, yeah.
It's got quite a bit of ledge.
Yeah. Oh. There's, the ledge, the services that they're putting in, they have to hammer to the house. And they're just putting the curb stops in. And the 2 or 3 that I looked at today, they're looking at the face of the ledge.
So but is the main in the road?
The main is in the road, I'm gonna say 75%, because as they're running the main through the end of the road, they're also running the curb stops in.
Okay, but they have anticipated all this ledge, though. This isn't, for the most part, anything new.
Well, it's certainly been advertised, so if they're not aware, they must have been
Well, I'm
asleep at
just,
the meeting, so
I'm
yes,
just,
yes.
again, concerned about the budget, that this isn't an add-on to the budget. It was
No,
included
this
in the
is- no,
original
this-
pricing.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and has McLeod's people been up at Old Worcester Road inspecting?
I can't testify to that
Okay,
firsthand,
okay,
because I have
wrong
not seen
question.
them.
Sorry, Steve, sorry, okay. All right, and, whoops. Thank you, Sue. Okay, I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
Make a motion.
Then I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.